Across Africa, churches are filled every week. Millions gather in worship centers searching for healing, hope, miracles, and answers to life struggles. But today, something is changing. A growing number of Africans are beginning to ask difficult questions. Questions about money, questions about power, questions about trust. Why are some pastors becoming richer while many followers remain poor? Why do scandals involving churches continue appearing across social media? And why are many young Africans starting to question religious institutions more than ever before? Tonight, we investigate the complicated relationship between faith, wealth, influence, and public trust in modern Africa. Cut to visuals of megachurches, crowded crusades, luxury cars, offering baskets, emotional worship scenes. This is not simply a story about religion. It is a story about influence, about survival, about desperation, about belief, and about the growing doubt surrounding pastors, money, and power. The rise of megachurches. Over the past 40 years, Africa has witnessed one of the fastest religious expansions in modern history. Small prayer groups transformed into massive ministries. Tiny church buildings became enormous auditoriums holding tens of thousands of worshipers. Some ministries expanded beyond borders, opening branches across Europe, America, and Asia. Religious broadcasting exploded across television and the internet. Pastors became celebrities. Some built universities. Some owned television networks. Others traveled in private jets. For millions of believers, this growth represented spiritual success. But for critics, it raised concerns. How did religion become such a powerful industry? And how much money flows through these organizations every year? In many churches, members are encouraged to give tithes, offerings, seed donations, building funds, partnership pledges, and special sacrificial offerings. Supporters argue these contributions help churches grow and fund charitable work. Critics argue some ministries operate more like corporations than spiritual institutions. And as churches grew larger, their financial influence grew larger too. Poverty and the power of hope. To understand why megachurches became so influential, we must understand Africa's economic reality. In many regions, unemployment remains high. Millions struggle with rising food prices, insecurity, and unstable economies. For families facing hardship, hope becomes incredibly powerful. And this is where prosperity preaching gained influence. The message was simple. Faith can change your life. Giving unlocks blessings. God wants you to prosper. For struggling communities, this message felt empowering. Some believers claimed their lives improved after joining churches. Others said they were pressured into giving money they could barely afford. Narrator. And this created one of the biggest debates in African Christianity. Where's the line between faith and financial exploitation? Because while some worshipers remained poor, some religious leaders became extremely wealthy. Luxury lifestyles began attracting public attention. Expensive watches, luxury mansions, private jets, convoys of expensive vehicles. To supporters, these were signs of divine blessing. To critics, they symbolized something very different. Social media changed everything. Years ago, religious leaders faced little public scrutiny. But then social media arrived. Suddenly, anyone with a smartphone could record sermons, share controversies, or expose scandals instantly. Videos spread across TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and X within minutes. Former church members began speaking publicly. Whistleblowers shared allegations online. Investigative journalists started examining financial practices in religious organizations. For the first time in history, ordinary people could publicly challenge powerful pastors in front of millions. And that changed everything. Online debates exploded. Some defended churches passionately. Others accused religious leaders of manipulating desperate followers. Young Africans especially became more skeptical because the internet exposed them to global ideas, financial education, and critical discussions. And many began asking, where does all the money go? Faith, miracles, and controversy. Miracles remain central to many African churches. Stories of healing, deliverance, prophecy, and supernatural breakthroughs attract huge crowds. For believers, miracles are proof of God's power, but some public incidents created controversy. Several pastors faced accusations involving fake miracles, staged testimonies, and financial misconduct. Authorities in some countries launch investigations. Media outlets publish documentaries and reports. Narrator: still, despite criticism, churches continue growing. Why? Because for millions of Africans, faith is deeply personal. Religion provides comfort during grief, hope during poverty, strength during uncertainty. And for many people, church communities provide emotional support that governments and institutions often fail to provide. Religion and political power. As churches grew larger, their political influence also expanded. Politicians began seeking endorsements from influential pastors. Religious leaders could influence millions of voters. Some pastors openly criticized corruption and injustice. Others faced accusations of political favoritism. Narrator: in modern Africa, pastors are no longer only spiritual leaders. Many have become national influencers, and with influence comes power. The question many citizens now ask is, should religious institutions hold this much political influence? Or are churches simply filling leadership gaps left by weak institutions? Africa's crisis of trust. Africa remains one of the most religious places on earth. Faith still shapes families, culture, and identity. But something important is changing. People are asking harder questions, demanding more transparency, and challenging systems of unchecked influence. Some churches may reform, others may lose credibility. New forms of spiritual leadership may emerge. But beyond all the controversy, one truth remains. Human beings will always search for meaning, for hope, for purpose, and for something greater than themselves. Thank you for watching Global Secrets TV series. Subscribe for more powerful documentaries exploring the hidden systems shaping our world.